In honor of the spooky season, I thought I'd dedicate a video entirely to the spooky goings-on of the Ben 10 franchise, and specifically how it approaches terror. More specifically, how Ben 10 teaches Eldritch horror to children. I've always had this real fascination with the horror genre from afar. It's a kind of media that's always just escaped me. I love the art of it. I've dipped my toes in a few times here and there, but I've always found myself too affected by it to really fully dive in. As a child of the late 90s and early 2000s, I have such vivid memories of wandering the VHS and DVD aisles of blockbusters and coming across the horror section. Just walking past all these covers really had me curious on what they're all about. I'd go and pick one up, I'd take a look at the few stills that were featured on the back, completely freak myself out and head back to whatever the newest overnightly or weeklies were. While we're on that, actually, my fondest memory of a video store was finding the Secrets of the Omnitrix on the shelf one day and taking it home to watch with a few mates of mine. I've always loved really ghoulish characters, so when I first found Ben 10, ghostfreak really resonated with me, particularly when we found out about the scare and everything revolving around him. Something the series does especially well is capturing that feeling of uneasiness, particularly the classic series. As much as Ben's character could be frustrating at times, relearning the same lessons, going through the same character arcs over and over again, he really felt like a believable 10-year-old, especially when he felt overwhelmed or afraid. Like in the episode Last Laugh, when we're first introduced to Zombozo, the clown energy vampire who comes into contact with Ben, Gwen, and Grandpa Max, who wouldn't be all that threatening if Ben hadn't had a phobia of clowns. I know the phobia is reasonably common in kids. I myself was pretty wary of clowns growing up, but nothing like Ben. And yet the classic series did such a fantastic job of portraying that fear, making you really feel it alongside the character. So early on to the series, Ben has already overcome enormous obstacles, like the Kraken, bounty hunters, giant alien robots, and all that barely phases him. Just to see him cowering from his biggest phobia really made you feel for him. And seeing him overcome that fear became all the more rewarding for it. Especially the way he defeated Zombozo by scaring him so thoroughly he literally exploded. We'll circle back to the topic of Zombozo and fear later, but for now he quite literally frightened a villain to death, using Ghostfreak, who tore open his outer layer, revealing this Tim Burton-esque horror. I never quite knew what those tendrils that came out of Ghostfreak reminded me of until the recent release of Beetlejuice 2, and I just immediately drew the connection between Tim Burton's visual style and those tendrils, specifically the sort of black and white pattern on them. If there's anything to this, or anyone who knows the exact inspiration for them beyond maybe a Tim Burton aesthetic, I'd love to hear about it. I've discussed the arc previously on this channel, but the introduction of the horror trio was a real nice addition to the cast of villains in Classic, and the reveal with them being tied to Ghostfreak was such a pleasant tie-in, especially later on finding out that they're all from the anur system and everything that's explored in the Galactic Monsters arc come omniverse. I've made videos on both of these topics in the past if you're interested whatsoever. Now let's get to the reason I made this video. The take I have that I'm not certain how hot it is, but here it is. I think Topik is the most perfect representation of horror in the Omnitrix, or at least of the aliens we've seen so far. And he comes out of absolutely nowhere. In his debut appearance, Ben is completely outmatched by a supercharged version of Siphon, and just like with Ghostfreak's chest bursting open to reveal tendrils, scaring Zombozo to death, we get this faceplate of Topik opening up slowly. We see a sort of blackness with this ethereal screaming and monstrous laughing coming out of it. On top of the super dramatic opening of the faceplate itself, with this creaking and this releasing of gas as if it was so tightly kept shut. Terrifying a villain who was able to throw around Humongousaur like he was nothing. And speaking of terrifying villains, circling back to Zombozo for a moment, when dropped back into Omniverse, Ben, in another circus tent, once again is face to face with Zombozo, who despite facing that fear previously, still remains his phobia. All this while Zombozo feeds off Ben's fear. Ben quite literally cowering and running away as Eye Guy before accidentally triggering the transformation into Topik. Still cowering as Topik, Ben opens up his faceplate and frightens the fear-based villain so badly his soul leaves his body. Now if this isn't a straight-up replacement for Ghostfreak's role in Classic, I don't know what is. He serves the precise same purpose, only this time Zombozo doesn't explode but rather is drained of all his nutrients that he had. And if you don't believe that he's more effective than Ghostfreak in this way, he's an alien is so terrifying to look at that beings including ectoneuroids, which are Ghostfreak species, find them horrifying to look at. And if that's still not enough for you, to show you just how frightening this character is, Celestial Sapiens Aliens X species would also be frightened of the sight of it. If you don't believe me, Derek Dare White said it. Imagine an all-powerful being with seemingly limitless abilities being afraid of anything at all, let alone an omnitrix transformation of a somewhat regular species in the universe. The in-universe explanation seems to be that Topix species' faces tap into someone's subconscious and sort of bring out their primordial fears that already exist within them. So they're the idea of fear itself rather than being a particularly scary-looking species themselves. And that's what I love about this otherwise unremarkable transformation. And what I like most about this transformation is that we never actually see that face, and the same sort of goes with Ghostfreak's inner body. Horror, typical horror at least, is more about what you don't see. That's why things that go bump in the night are so often obscured, or their reveal is just less impactful. That's why so few horror is well lit or during the day, other than films like Sunshine, which really finds a way to make light the thing obscuring the vision, rather than the lack of it. And all of this from an alien mentioned all the way back in the classic series, with him being one of the aliens Ken's given access to in the original future timeline. Actually, if you're interested in the origins of this transformation, Derek J. White was inspired by a piece of art he came across in a museum in California, as well as a character I'd never heard of called Yuck from the Mighty Men cartoon, along with his power set being inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft. All this to say, what a silly looking transformation, and I hope you all enjoy your spooky season. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't subscribed yet, I'd very much appreciate it. And if you want to do even more than that, whether that be showing a friend, sending it to a group chat, or sharing it in a Discord community, and if not, I appreciate you just engaging with the content. Thanks for watching.